I don't feel the same about you anymore. We should end this." Those words, spoken on a chilly October afternoon, have echoed in my mind for countless sleepless nights. Have you ever wondered what's worse, being betrayed or having the person you loved tell you without hesitation that you no longer mattered to them? I had to endure both at once, and I'm here to share that story, a story not about anger or bitterness, but about how I found my strength again. But to understand this journey, you need to know who I am, how I ended up loving the wrong person, and why everything fell apart. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 37 years old and work as a commercial contract lawyer in Denver, Colorado. Oh, what? I'm not exactly a household name. I've made a respectable mark in the legal world. This has led me to be cautious about my private life. The world's smaller than you think. And no one wants their personal troubles turned into gossip, especially in legal circles. The second key figure in this tale is the man I once called my husband, Nathan Cole. At 41, he was the CEO of a prestigious restaurant chain with locations from New York to Los Angeles. Nathan had all the qualities that attracted me. He was charming, confident, and driven. I first met him at a business networking event, and I believed I had found the perfect match, someone who would understand the pressures of my demanding job. But as it turns out, Nathan's ambitions weren't just about professional success. He wanted more wealth, more recognition, and, as I would later discover, more women, ones he felt were more worthy than me. We tied the knot over a decade ago, at a time when both of us were reaching the peak of our careers. But marriage wasn't anything like the romantic movies I once adored. After a few years of stability, Nathan started to drift away. Our conversations became shorter, and his time at home grew sparse. Instead, there were always urgent meetings and business trips that seemed endless. Despite the warning signs, I told myself it was just a phase, a rough patch that every couple goes through. I reassured myself that Nathan's stress at work was the cause, and if I was patient enough, we would get through it. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. He wasn't just absent physically. He had emotionally abandoned me too. When I finally gathered the courage to find the truth, I learned that my worst fears were true. But that discovery was just the beginning of my journey to reclaim myself. There was so much more ahead, and I'll share it all with you. Nathan Cole wasn't the type to leave evidence lying around. He was smart and always careful to protect his public image, especially when it came to me. But no matter how sharp someone is, they can't hide subtle changes forever. Over the past year, I began noticing these little shifts in his behavior. At first, it was harmless, things, broken promises about coming home on time. He'd explain away these delays with tales of urgent meetings or surprise inspections at his restaurant branches. His business trips grew more frequent, often with distant stops, like "I'll be in New York this week and maybe swing by Dallas before heading back." I had gotten used to his chaotic schedule, but lately, there was something different in his eyes and voice that made me question everything. Nathan had started paying much more attention to his appearance, new cologne, tailored suits, and even hitting the gym. One evening, when I jokingly asked, "Are you planning to become a model?" simply laughed it off and replied, "Oh, don't be silly, Sarah. I just want to look more professional for my client meetings." Those signs should have been enough to raise my suspicions, but I either ignored them or convinced myself that it was nothing. Perhaps it was love, or maybe I was just fooling myself. But I refused to believe that the man I had given my heart to could betray me. Then, one Saturday evening, Nathan announced he had to leave for a conference in Chicago. As soon as he walked out the door, something inside me snapped. This time, I was determined to uncover the truth. I started by searching through his home office. Nathan was usually careful, but not careful enough. In a locked drawer, I found an old laptop he had used years ago. At first glance, it seemed like an innocent relic. But when I powered it on and searched through its contents, found something that would change everything: a secret Facebook profile. One I'd never known about. My heart raced as I opened the profile. The first thing that appeared was a photo. of Nathan with a young woman. The caption read, "Every day feels brighter with my beautiful girl." Made my stomach turn. She had the perfect appearance, a radiant smile and golden hair that looked like it belonged on a magazine cover. The photos and suggestive messages confirmed my worst fear. Nathan was having an affair. I sat there paralyzed, my hands trembling, as I scrolled through each picture and message. All those times he told me he was busy with work had actually been spent with her. The elaborate lies were hidden under the guise of business trips and client meetings. I felt as though our entire marriage had been a facade. That night, I couldn't sleep. Anger and pain consumed me. I had always been a sharp lawyer, someone who could see through deception in every case. Yet here I was, blinded by my own denial in the most personal aspect of my life. The next morning, I made a decision. I would no longer sit idly by in this web of lies. It was time for Nathan to face the truth. I was going to show him that no one could manipulate and betray me without consequences. Nathan returned home on Monday morning as if nothing had happened. As he walked through the door, he casually loosened his tie and asked, "Did you make me a cup of coffee?" His voice was light and calm, but to me it was nothing more than a facade. I clenched my fists and steadied myself, determined to keep my composure. "We need to talk," I said coldly, my eyes locking onto his dot. Nathan froze. His eyes briefly reflected surprise before shifting to irritation. "What's with the tension?" "I just got home," he said, sounding annoyed. I took out my phone, opened the photo of him and that woman, and placed it in front of him. "Are you still going to pretend?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly with restrained anger. Nathan stared at the screen for a long moment, then chuckled cold, heartless laugh. "Huh. Oh, so you've done some digging, huh?" His response hit me like a bucket of ice water. "That's all you have to say? This is how you explain your affair to me?" I asked in disbelief at his indifference. Nathan shrugged, as if it didn't matter. "Listen, Sarah, you're being too sensitive. There's nothing serious between me and her. You should focus on your job instead of always acting like a judge trying to control me," Kay said casually. A surge of fury welled up inside me. "Control? Are you kidding me? All those nights you came home late, all those lies about business trips just so you could be with her, and now you want to blame me?" Nathan sighed, his expression shifting to a mix of wariness and contempt. "Honestly, Sarah, you're blowing this out of proportion. We're not the same anymore. You're too caught up in your lawyer career to care about me. And besides, you're not as attractive as you used to be." His last words cut through me like a knife. I stood frozen, unable to breathe. "What did you just say?" I repeated in shock. Nathan shrugged again, his tone now cruelly detached. "You heard me? I want a wife who fits me better. Someone attractive, someone who knows how to take care of herself. And someone who doesn't obsess over pointless legal cases," he said without a trace of remorse. I've fought to keep my voice steady. "You really think cheating is the solution when you're unhappy?" He gave a cold, humorless laugh. "Honestly, yes. And just so you know, I've already made my decision. I'm filing for divorce. I don't want to continue this sham of a marriage. I've hired a lawyer, and you should start packing. You need to leave." I stared at him, my heart shattering into pieces. After more than a decade of marriage, this was what I was left with. "You're a coward, Nathan, but don't think for a second that I'll let you walk away without facing the consequences for what you've done." Nathan laughed loudly. "Sarah, you don't stand a chance against me. You'll just embarrass yourself. I've got everything planned out." I didn't respond to his taunt. Deep inside, I silently vowed that Nathan would pay for the pain he had caused. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of my fight to reclaim my autonomy and dignity. Nathan didn't know that I was not someone who could be easily defeated. He would soon learn the hard way. I walked into my home office, my mind still reeling from Nathan's cruel words. He really thought he had the upper hand. But he had forgotten one important thing. I am not someone who can be easily backed into a corner. I am a lawyer, and I would never let anyone trample on my dignity without fighting back. While sorting through some old files, suddenly remembered a crucial document we had signed before getting married, the prenuptial agreement. At the time, both of us were building our careers and agreed that this contract would protect each of our interests in case things ever went wrong. In particular, the 8th clause was crystal clear. If either party committed adultery, the other would be entitled to half of the business assets. I immediately found the original agreement. When the words asset division, in the event of infidelity appeared before me, I almost smiled through my anger. Nathan had been so arrogant, assuming I wouldn't dare to challenge him. He had conveniently forgotten that he himself had agreed to this clause during a legal meeting where I was the one overseeing the details. Over the next few days, devoted all my time to gathering evidence, messages, photos from his secret Facebook account, hotel receipts, and even the schedules for his fake business trips. Everything was meticulously saved and documented. As I printed each page, a strange sense of calm washed over me. Nathan wouldn't be able to escape this divorce without consequences. Once my preparation was complete, I arranged a meeting with Kevin Moore, Nathan's attorney. We met at a quiet cafe near downtown. Kevin was a well-known family law attorney with years of experience. I knew he probably thought this meeting would be a simple routine discussion. But he had no idea I had come fully armed with all the ammunition I needed. Kevin was polite as we began the conversation, smiling warmly. "Miss Mitchell," Nathan informed me that this would just be an initial discussion to resolve matters amicably, he said. I chuckled softly, my gaze unwavering. "Oh, so he hasn't told you the real reason for this meeting?" I calmly took a thick stack of documents from my bag and placed it on the table in front of him. "You might want to review these before proceeding with any plans for your client." Kevin frowned slightly but opened the file. His expression quickly changed as he scanned the pages, his face paling as he took in the undeniable evidence of the affair. The text messages, hotel receipts, and photos shattered any defense he might have. "Prepared? Oh my God," he muttered under his breath, clearly shaken. "And that's not all, Kay," I said, my voice calm but razor sharp. "According to the prenuptial agreement, I have the right to claim half of Nathan's business assets due to his infidelity. I'm not going to back down, Mr. Moore, so I suggest you reconsider continuing to represent your client." Kevin was speechless for a moment before letting out a sigh. "Nathan never mentioned this agreement. He told me you were just trying to cause trouble without any valid reason." I let out a cold laugh. "Well, I think you now know who's really causing trouble in this case." The meeting ended with a promise from Kevin that he would need to have a talk with Nathan. I knew exactly what that meant. No lawyer wants to represent a dishonest client, especially when facing an experienced attorney like me. Nathan had backed himself into a corner without even realizing it. And this was just the beginning. In the days following the meeting with Kevin Moore, everything unfolded exactly as I had anticipated. Kevin quickly withdrew from the case, refusing to continue representing Nathan after seeing the overwhelming evidence and the prenuptial stipulations. The news made Nathan furious. He bombarded me with texts and phone calls, none of which I bothered to answer. Now let's see who's the real joke in this divorce, I thought to myself, feeling both hurt and resolute. At first, Nathan remained arrogant, boasting that he would hire another top lawyer to beat me. But as the weeks passed, I began hearing from colleagues that no one wanted to take his case. Everyone in the legal community knew my reputation and recognized that Nathan had made too many critical errors. One Saturday morning, as I was preparing for a virtual meeting with a client, the doorbell rang repeatedly. I frowned, not expecting anyone at that hour. When I opened the door, I was surprised to find ... Nathan stood there, looking nothing like the polished man I once knew. He was thinner, his hair disheveled, and his face gaunt with worry. We need to talk. Sarah, he said, his voice trembling. I crossed my arms and stared at him coldly. I thought we agreed to communicate through our lawyers. Could find anyone willing to take your case? Nathan lowered his head, clearly uncomfortable. Sarah, you have to understand, this isn't as simple as you think. I know I was wrong. I've ended that relationship. Can we talk like adults? I raised an eyebrow. That relationship? You mean your mistress? Interesting. Did she leave you when she found out you weren't rich anymore? Nathan was silent for a moment, then let out a heavy sigh. She doesn't matter. What matters is us. We were happy once, weren't we? I know I made mistakes, but everyone makes mistakes. Sarah, we can fix this. Those words made me laugh bitterly. Nathan, do you really think I'm stupid enough to come back to you just because of a few apologies? After everything you've done, don't be ridiculous. He tried to stay composed, but I could see the desperation in his eyes. Sarah, I'm losing everything. If you take this to court, I'll be completely ruined. Just tell me what you want. Tell me, as long as you don't take half of my business. I stepped closer, looking him straight in the eyes. Do you remember who wrote that clause into the prenup you did? And now you have to face the consequences. Don't come here begging. I gave you a chance to be honest long ago, but you chose to betray me. We're done. Nathan's face turned pale. He continued pleading, but I no longer felt an ounce of sympathy. Get out, Nathan, and don't come back, I said firmly, slamming the door shut. Outside, I heard his footsteps retreat quietly. I stood still for a long moment, exhaling deeply. This battle was nearing its end. Nathan had thought he could control me forever. But now he knew the harsh truth. I am the only one who controls my life. The divorce proceedings concluded faster than I had expected. The undeniable evidence and the clear stipulations of the prenuptial agreement left Nathan completely at a disadvantage. In the end, he had no choice but to concede and sign the agreement, granting me half of his business assets. We didn't have to drag the case further into court. I won convincingly, though the victory didn't bring the joy I had once imagined. It was merely the final step in closing a painful chapter of my life. A few weeks later, news of our divorce spread quickly within the business community. Some of Nathan's partners were shocked to learn that he had lost nearly half of his assets to me. His once thriving chain of upscale restaurants was now facing significant financial challenges. With no cash flow to maintain his lavish lifestyle, Nathan was forced to sell his sprawling mansion in the Denver suburbs and move into a modest rental apartment in a middle-class neighborhood. The woman he had once praised as his true love was no longer by his side. I heard rumors that she disappeared as soon as she found out Nathan was no longer wealthy. The cold indifference she showed him now was exactly what he had sown when he betrayed me. Karma hit faster than he expected. While Nathan struggled to adjust to his new reality, I focused on rebuilding my own life. The business shares I had acquired provided a stable source of income. I didn't manage the operations directly, but hired a professional team to handle that part of the business. This allowed me to concentrate on my legal career and spend more time taking care of myself. One day, I received a call from my best friend, Rachel, whom I hadn't seen throughout the divorce process. Sarah, we should go somewhere to relax this weekend. You fought so hard. It's time to enjoy the fruits of your victory. Rachel's suggestion made me laugh. She was right. I had spent too much time in pain, fighting and weathering the storm of my life. It was time to let myself enjoy life a little. That weekend, we drove up to the mountains in Aspen, rented a small villa, and spent the entire day hiking along beautiful trails, breathing in the fresh air of nature. There, I began to feel a true sense of relief for the first time in months. Life is so beautiful, Rachel. I forgot what it felt like to breathe freely like this, I said, smiling as I watched the stunning sunset before us. Rachel nodded in agreement, and you deserve it. No one has the right to make you suffer anymore, Sarah. It's time for you to live for yourself. Her words were like a wake-up call. After that trip, I returned with a new mindset. I decided to buy a new house not to flaunt or prove anything to anyone, but to create a space I could truly call home. The new villa was located in a peaceful neighborhood, surrounded by a large garden. I spent time decorating it, selecting each piece of furniture to match my taste, something I had never done while living with Nathan. My life gradually stabilized and flourished beyond my expectations. I continued taking on major legal cases and earned the trust of more clients. The staff at my law firm showed me respect, not just for my expertise, but also for the resilience I had demonstrated during the hardest period of my life. One afternoon, while sitting in my office, I received an email from Nathan. The subject line was brief: "Can we talk?" I opened the email and read the apologetic words he had written. Nathan admitted he was wrong and said he wanted to meet to apologize in person, hoping we could remain friends. I chuckled softly and shook my head. Friends, after everything? I didn't respond right away. It wasn't because I wanted revenge or still harbored hatred for him. I simply realized that I no longer needed his apologies. My life had entered a new chapter, and Nathan was no longer a part of it. Instead of replying, I pressed the delete button and closed my laptop. Then I stepped outside to enjoy the gentle afternoon sunlight, feeling lighter and freer than ever before. This journey had not been easy, but I learned valuable lessons from it. No one has the right to control your life but you. And when you stand up for yourself, your strength will command the world's respect. I had weathered the storm and was now living the life I deserved, a life of freedom, success, and hope. The story of Sarah Mitchell is a journey from heartbreak and betrayal to resilience and triumph. After being betrayed and disrespected by her husband, Sarah stood up for herself with intelligence and determination. She reclaimed what was rightfully hers and rebuilt her life with success and independence. From loss, she found inner strength and learned to live for herself, no longer allowing anyone to control or hurt her. Her story is a testament that overcoming adversity is the path to true growth and happiness. What do you think of Sarah Mitchell's story? Do you sympathize with her decisions, or do you have a different perspective? Share your thoughts. Don't forget to follow the channel for more inspiring stories about life and family. Hannah nodded in agreement, and you deserve it. No one has the right to make you suffer anymore, Sarah. It's time for you to live for yourself. Her words were like a wake-up call. After that trip, I returned with a new mindset. I decided to buy a new house not to flaunt or prove anything to anyone, but to create a space I could truly call home. The new villa was located in a peaceful neighborhood, surrounded by a large garden. Spent time decorating it, selecting each piece of furniture to match my tastes, something I had never done while living with Nathan. My life gradually stabilized and flourished beyond my expectations. I continued taking on major legal cases and earned the trust of more clients. The staff at my law firm showed me respect, not just for my expertise, but also for the resilience I had demonstrated during the hardest period of my life. One afternoon, while sitting in my office, I received an email from Nathan. The subject line was brief: "Can we talk?" I opened the email and read the apologetic words he had written. Nathan admitted he was wrong and said he wanted to meet to apologize in person, hoping we could remain friends. I chuckled softly and shook my head. Friends, after everything? I didn't respond right away. It wasn't because I wanted revenge or still harbored hatred for him. I simply realized that I no longer needed his apologies. My life had entered a new chapter, and Nathan was no longer a part of it. Instead of replying, I pressed the delete button and closed my laptop. Then I stepped outside to enjoy the gentle afternoon sunlight, feeling lighter and freer than ever before. This journey had not been easy, but I learned valuable lessons from it. No one has the right to control your life but you. And when you stand up for yourself, your strength will command the world's respect. I had weathered the storm and was now living the life I deserved, a life of freedom, success, and hope. The story of Sarah Mitchell is a journey from heartbreak and betrayal to resilience and triumph. After being betrayed and disrespected by her husband, Sarah stood up for herself with intelligence and determination. She reclaimed what was rightfully hers and rebuilt her life with success and independence. From loss, she found inner strength and learned to live for herself, no longer allowing anyone to control or hurt her. Her story is a testament that overcoming adversity is the path to true growth and happiness. What do you think of Sarah Mitchell's story? Do you sympathize with her decisions? Or do you have a different perspective? Share your thoughts. Don't forget to follow the channel for more inspiring stories about life and family. Nathan wondering where he really was and whether he was caring for his mother or hiding something else around midday. Lily and I turned into the quiet neighborhood where Martha lived, to white fences, manicured lawns, and American flags on every porch. I remembered the last time I was here, the yard was overgrown, the walkway barely visible through the weeds, but this time everything was different. The lawn was neatly trimmed, bougainvillea bloomed brightly along the porch, and there was even a child's bike standing perfectly upright under the shade of a tree, a pink bike with purple ribbons on the handles. Clearly not Lily's, since we hadn't brought anything with us. I parked a short distance away and turned off the engine. Lily looked around, eyes sparkling. "There's Grandma's house. Mom, can we go in now?" I gripped the steering wheel gently, then turned to her. "Give me a moment, Lily. I just want to look around a bit." I stepped out, pulling my coat tight. From a distance, I saw someone step out of the house, a young woman with blonde hair tied neatly, carrying a trash bag. She glanced toward my car, then went back inside and shut the door. A cold feeling ran down my spine. I returned to the car, smiled at Lily. "We're going to surprise Daddy, sweetheart, but remember, it's a secret. We're not knocking yet." She nodded eagerly, hugging her drawing tight. "I'm ready." I wasn't sure if I was, but I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't live in doubt any longer. The only way to know the truth was to open that door. I walked with Lily along the white wooden fence, my hand gently holding her small fingers. The Asheville sky was clear, the sunlight soft, and the breeze cool. But inside me, a storm was beginning to gather. We were just a few houses away from Martha's when a middle-aged woman crossed the street with a curly-haired dog. She looked at me for a second in surprise, then smiled warmly. "Sarah, isn't it?" she asked, shortening the leash. It's been so long, and this must be Lily." I paused and nodded. "Yes." "Hello, I'm Clara, Martha's neighbor and close friend for decades," she said, smiling at Lily kindly. "She's grown so much. I remember when she used to toddle around the yard." I forced a smile, but my heart thudded faster. "I heard Martha was dealing with heart issues," I said cautiously. "So we thought we'd visit without warning." Clara chuckled. "Heart issues? Not at all. Just last week, she went to the grocery store with Nathan and that blonde girl, what's her name again? Lauren. They brought a little boy with them, such a sweet kid. He kept calling Martha Grandma the whole time. I stood frozen. Lily looked up at me, mouth slightly open, but didn't say a word. "You said Nathan went to the store?" I asked again, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sure did. He even helped me carry water bottles from the car," Clara said with a laugh, not noticing my expression stiffen. "They looked like a real family. It's nice Martha has grandkids to keep her company now that she's older." Simply nodded, thanked her, and kept walking with Lily. Each step felt heavier than the last. Now I understood why Nathan didn't want me to come, why the texts stopped, why our daughter had been quietly erased from his life. But I needed to see it with my own eyes. The cream-colored house came into view, the garden carefully maintained, lavender blue flowers blooming evenly in the sun. The front door slightly ajar. My heart clenched. "Lily, stay right here with me," I whispered. "We're not knocking yet." She nodded, clutching her drawing of the purple-dressed cat. I stepped closer. From the cracked door, laughter echoed out clearly. No, Lauren, you're the one who filled the pan with oil. Nathan's voice rang out, light, relaxed, warm, a stark contrast to his "I'm busy" messages. I know. But your pancakes were amazing, a woman's voice replied. Sweet youth. I swallowed hard. Tate, don't spill orange juice on the couch again. Ah! Martha's voice chimed in, vibrant and full of energy. I just cleaned that yesterday. Ah! Child giggled. Sorry, Grandma. I gently pulled Lily closer. Do you want to see Daddy? I asked softly. She nodded, eyes wide with wonder. I lifted her just enough so she could peek through the door. Her face changed immediately. I leaned in. The living room was filled with sunlight. Nathan sat on the couch, his arm wrapped around a pretty blonde. A woman wearing a sky-blue dress leaned her head on his shoulder, smiling brightly. On the rug, a little boy, maybe 5, played with toy cars, humming along to a song from the TV. And Martha, the woman I had been worried was bedridden, walked in from the kitchen with a tray of orange juice and cookies. Her steps were firm, healthier than I'd ever seen her. Nathan, I really love it here. Lauren laughed. It's peaceful, cozy, it feels like home. Because it is home, Nathan replied. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. And you're my family. Daddy, play cars with me. The little boy yelled. Nathan laughed. All right, Tate, I'm coming. It felt like someone had punched me straight in the chest. Lily clutched my arm. Mom, her voice trembled. That man is my dad, but I placed my hand over her mouth. She, not yet, not now, my voice was rough, barely above a whisper. We stepped back, pressing ourselves against the outer wall, breathing heavily. I held my daughter tightly as my mind spun. What was happening? The man I trusted, the man I loved, had been living the past month as someone entirely different, with a different woman, a different child, and an entirely different life. I closed my eyes, trying to steady my breath. Not because I was weak, but because I needed clarity to know exactly what I had to do next. And I knew I needed evidence. I held Lily tightly in my arms, trying to shield her from the reality that had just shattered before us. My heart felt like it was being squeezed, not just because Nathan had betrayed me, but because Lily, the little girl who still drew pictures of a family of 3 every week, had just witnessed her father calling another child his son. I took a deep breath, looked around, then knelt down and whispered, Wait here for a moment, sweetie. Mommy has something very important to do. Lily nodded, her eyes still wet with tears, clinging to the stuffed bear she had brought from home. I stepped back toward the trees near the yard, quietly pulled my phone from my pocket. The screen reflected my face, pale but no longer trembling. I switched to video mode, steadied my hand, and crept back toward the front door. The door was still ajar. Inside, laughter and conversation flowed easily, as if the world was completely at peace, a world where my daughter and I did not exist. I aimed the phone's lens inside and began recording. Lauren sat beside Nathan on the couch, her head resting on his shoulder. Tate, the boy I now understood was Lauren's child, ran around the coffee table with his toy car. And Martha, my mother-in-law, placed a tray of cookies on the table. Her voice cheerful, her body full of energy. Nathan, I'm so glad you finally did the right thing, she said. Lauren is who you should have chosen from the start. That, Sarah girl, ... I told you so many times. I gripped my phone tighter. Every word was recorded clearly, fully. Nathan chuckled. Mom, let's not talk about the past. Everything's almost taken care of. Almost. Lauren tilted her head. Are you sure? I still worry. What if she finds out? No way. Nathan replied confidently. Sarah believes anything. All I have to say is Mom's seriously ill and she listens. She's never questioned me. I bit my lip until I tasted blood just to stop myself from gasping. What about Lily? Lauren asked. She's still your daughter, right? Nathan shrugged and grabbed a cookie from the plate. Sarah will handle her. Lily's the only one I feel guilty about, but honestly, Tate needs me more. He's part of this life now. The little girl ... she's not important anymore. Lauren's voice was quiet but pointed. Nathan paused, then exhaled. I have a new family now, Lauren, Lily. You just have to adjust. I stopped recording. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from fury, from resolve. Nathan hadn't just betrayed me. He had betrayed our daughter, the same child he once rocked to sleep every night. He discarded her like she was just some leftover from a past life. I walked back to the bushes where Lily sat, curled up, her eyes filled with sorrow. Between soft sobs, she asked, Mom, why did Daddy call that boy his son? What about me? I knelt and hugged her tightly. Daddy did something wrong, Lily, but you didn't. You are the most precious thing in my life. I wiped away her tears, then added, I'll do everything I can to protect you from now on. You don't have to try to understand grown-up problems, okay? She nodded faintly, and I carried her back to the car. In my mind, a plan was forming not for revenge, but for justice. I had the video, I had the evidence, and I wasn't going to let someone like Nathan erase our existence with a few easy lies. I started the car but didn't drive away right away. I opened my phone and went to my contacts. My finger stopped on a name I never thought I'd need, Samantha Green, an attorney I'd once met during a dispute involving a patient at the hospital. A sharp, no-nonsense woman, but fair. I hit call. The phone rang 3 times. Hello? Hello, Samantha. It's me, Sarah Mitchell. I need to see you as soon as possible. My voice was firm, no longer wavering. I have proof, and I'm ready to fight. After hanging up, I looked at Lily through the rearview mirror. She was hugging her stuffed bear, eyes distant. I knew I couldn't afford to hesitate anymore because, from this point on, I wasn't just a betrayed wife, was a mother, and I would not let anyone discard my daughter so icily. I left Asheville that very afternoon. After making sure the video was backed up to both a hard drive and the cloud, on the way back to Raleigh, Lily fell asleep in the back seat, still clutching her old stuffed bear. I drove in silence, my thoughts racing but with razor-sharp clarity. No more tears, only action. The moment I got home, I called Sophia Lawrence, Hannah's former colleague, now a family and custody attorney. I had never imagined I'd need her, but today, it wasn't just a need, it was a necessity. Sophia scheduled a meeting for the next morning before going to bed. I texted my mom, Elaine Mitchell, who still lived in Durham, less than an hour's drive from Raleigh. Mom, I need to leave Lily with you for a few days. I'll explain when I arrive. Early the next morning, I gently woke Lily. She was still tired but didn't ask many questions. I drove her to my mother's house. Elaine opened the door with worry already in her eyes the moment she saw me. What's going on? Sweetheart, she asked. I took a deep breath. I'll tell you everything, but right now I just need you to watch Lily for a few days. I have something important to take care of. My mom hugged Lily, whispered something into her ear while I just stood there, clutching the folder and the phone, holding the truth we had uncovered. By the time it was not even 8 a.m., I arrived at Sophia's office, a small red brick building in a quiet area near downtown. Sophia, a woman in her early 40s with short curls and sharp, steady eyes, greeted me with a handshake and led me into a private meeting room. I placed the phone on the table and said, I need a divorce and I want full custody of my daughter. Sophia sat silently for 5 full minutes as she watched the video. She didn't say a word until it ended. Then she hit pause, looked up at me. You have everything I need. Visuals, audio, context, timestamps. This isn't just evidence of infidelity. It's concealment, deception, and likely grounds for moral misconduct in a divorce case. The court will lean entirely in your favor. I nodded, my voice raspy. He had the nerve to say Lily didn't matter anymore? Sophia picked up her phone and called her assistant. Prepare an emergency petition for an irreconcilable divorce. File a request for temporary sole custody with video evidence attached. We'll also request a no-contact order if needed. I looked at her and knew I had chosen the right person. Before I left her office, Sophia gave one last instruction. I need you to do one more thing before we formally proceed. Check your joint bank account. That same afternoon, I went to the bank. It only took a few minutes to log in, and there it was. Nathan was still using the credit card linked to our joint account for purchases, including items for Lauren and that child. I immediately followed Sophia's advice. I withdrew half the money, transferred it into a new account under Lily's and my name, and locked all outside access through my phone. That evening, I returned to my mother's house and had dinner with her and Lily. My mom looked at me and, for the first time in years, she saw someone who wasn't lost or hesitant. You've made your decision, she said. I asked. Mom nodded. Not just for me, for Lily. I won't let her grow up in a world where people can throw her away like something used. My mom squeezed my hand without saying another word. That night, I lay next to Lily, listening to her steady breathing, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. I was no longer afraid of Nathan, not afraid of his excuses, his blame, or the fake little family he was trying to build in Asheville. I had lost enough. Now it was time to reclaim what was mine through the silence of evidence, through the law, and through the clarity of a mother who would never surrender. A few days later, I stood in front of the familiar white gate of the house in Asheville, a place that once symbolized my trust and now would become the end of every last illusion. Next to me stood Sophia Lawrence, dressed in a charcoal suit, posture firm, eyes cold but resolute. In her hand was a folder stamped and ready divorce papers, custody, petition, financial documents, and the video. Art. The one that captured every word of betrayal. Sophia looked at me and asked quietly, "Ready?" I nodded, voice steady, more than ever. We walked up the stone path. Bougainvillea still blooming brightly over the porch, a cruel contrast. Sophia rang the doorbell. Phew! Seconds later, Nathan opened the door. His face froze in total disbelief. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" I looked straight at him, expressionless. "I came to finish what you started." Nathan glanced over my shoulder, then at Sophia. "Who is Sophia Lawrence?" "My attorney." I answered for him. "We need to talk." "It's not a good time. Lauren and Tate are napping, and my mom, then wake them." Sophia interrupted, her tone calm but firm. "'Cause your fantasy life is about to be exposed." I stepped through the door before Nathan could stop me. The living room looked exactly as it did through the crack in the door, tidy, cozy, complete, but without a place for Lily. Lauren walked out from the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. Her eyes landed on me, then darted to Nathan in panic. "What is she doing here?" she asked quickly, setting her mug down. I didn't answer. Sophia opened the folder and pulled out several documents. "We're here to serve divorce papers, supported by full evidence of deceit, concealment, and betrayal. This is a copy of the custody petition for full parental rights." And this, she placed a USB drive on the table, "is the recorded footage of exactly what took place in this house 3 days ago." Nathan's face turned pale. At that moment, Martha appeared in the hallway, still holding her phone. "What's going on? Are you here, Sarah?" I turned to her, the woman who used to call me a good daughter-in-law and who had stood by while my family fell apart. Without saying a word, I looked at her coldly. "You seem well," I said, not exactly what one would expect from someone supposedly too sick to receive visitors. Martha froze, then hissed, "I don't owe you an explanation." "No," I replied, "because everything's already been recorded." Lauren turned to Nathan, her voice rising. "You told me she didn't know anything. You said it was final. You said I was your family now." "Lauren, now's not the time." Nathan tried to keep his voice low. "At the time. She just dropped a bomb in the middle of your house." "Nathan," she shouted, then looked at me, her voice filled with venom. "You think you can steal him with a stack of paperwork?" I looked her straight in the eyes. No, I don't need a man who betrays his own child. Came here to protect my daughter. The same daughter he claimed no longer matters. Nathan flinched. Sarah, I didn't mean it that way. Sophia calmly unlocked her phone and played the recording. Nathan's voice rang out loud and clear from the speaker. Tate needs me more. I have a new family now, Lauren. Lily. We'll have to get used to that. The entire room went silent. Nathan took a step back, speechless. I took a deep breath. I didn't come here to beg. I came to say, Lily and we don't need you anymore. Get out of my house. Martha suddenly shouted. Sophia Lawrence turned to her and gave a cold smile. Legally, this house is not solely yours until division of assets is finalized. And according to the bank records, your son is still using shared marital funds for questionable personal expenses. The court will be very interested in that. Nathan collapsed into the chair, burying his face in his hands. Lauren stormed upstairs, slamming the door so hard that the picture frames on the wall shook. I didn't need to say anything more. Simply turned and walked out of that house with steps steadier than ever before. The sky over Asheville was gray, but inside me a beam of light was beginning to shine. I had stood up and I would not look back. 3 months later, on a bright April morning, I stood in my new apartment in the heart of Raleigh. Looking out the large window at the park below, soft breeze rustled the lush green trees, and birds chirped in the distance. Lily was running around the living room, still faintly smelling of fresh paint, holding a handmade paper flower crown in preparation for her 7 1/2 birthday party. I can't wait until the afternoon, Mom, Lily shouted, her hair flying, cheeks flushed with excitement. Quiet joy rose inside me as I adjusted the small board hanging near the kitchen with hand-lettered words that read, Happy birthday, Lily. This 2-bedroom apartment wasn't spacious, but it was cozy and full of light. Most importantly, it was mine. The lease had my name on it. I cleaned and decorated every corner myself. The divorce had been processed quickly, thanks to the undeniable evidence. Sophia had done an excellent job. I was awarded half of the shared assets, full custody of Lily, and retained insurance benefits for both of us. Soon after, I also received official notice from the hospital. I had been promoted to lead shift coordinator in the emergency department. It was the first professional step I had once believed I'd never reach while living in the shadow of a successful husband, my mom. Elaine Mitchell moved in with us during the early months of the transition. Though always strict, she quietly helped. Clean, cooked our meals, and read books to Lily every night, as if making up for all the missed bedtime calls that never came. And Hannah, my coworker, and the first to suspect Nathan, had become more like family. She brought dinner every weekend and sometimes brought her 2 grandchildren to play with Lily. The laughter of children made this apartment feel more alive than it had in years. I didn't talk much about Nathan, but Lily seemed to understand. Boundaries. Occasionally, she'd ask in a soft voice, Is Daddy doing okay, Mom? And I would respond with all the calm I could muster. I don't know, sweetheart, but I do know you're growing up wonderfully. Our new life wasn't perfect, but it was real. No more empty promises, no more cold dinners with a chair left waiting that I once believed was only temporarily unfilled. That afternoon, we hosted a small birthday party for Lily in the apartment's backyard. There was no tiered cake or silk table runners like the parties Nathan used to stage, but there was a cake made by Hannah, mint green balloons, and bursts of laughter from the neighborhood kids. Lily wore the light blue dress I'd bought from a local craft shop. She ran to me as soon as the birthday song ended. This is the best birthday ever, she exclaimed. I hugged her tight. Because you deserve every bit of happiness, Lily. Elaine was slicing cake, Hannah was pouring juice, and I simply stood there quietly, watching everyone. For the first time in a long time, I felt everything was finally on track. In that moment, I glanced beyond the apartment's fence. A familiar car was parked across the street. Nathan was standing beside it. He didn't walk in, he just stood there quietly, hands in his pockets, watching Lily from afar. I didn't call Lily. I didn't approach him. I only looked at him once, just long enough for Nathan to see clearly that my daughter and I no longer belonged to the world he had tried to hide us from. A few minutes later, the car drove off. No one else noticed, but I knew my closure wasn't just legal. It was a true release from everything I once tried to hold on to. Lily hugged her teddy bear and whispered in my ear as she blew out her candles. Mom, you know what? Don't remember last year's birthday, but I'll remember. The last year, had been a long one, but in many ways it was the most liberating. Lily finally got to live her life as she wanted, and so did I. I couldn't help but feel the weight in my chest this year. We both became the versions of ourselves we were meant to be. 10 months after the court granted me full custody of Lily, I learned about Nathan from a mutual acquaintance, not directly from him. A post on social media caught my eye, shared by a friend who used to work at the same insurance company as Nathan. It seemed he had been terminated after the company uncovered. He was using his corporate credit card for personal spending, including weekend getaways with Lauren and her son. His reckless spending not only ruined his credit, but also led to an internal lawsuit that dragged on for months. I wasn't shocked, just deeply disappointed. The man I had once trusted had lost everything, not because of circumstances, but because of his own arrogance. Lauren had disappeared soon after our confrontation in Asheville. She packed up her things and left, taking Tate with her, leaving not even a note behind. I later heard she found out about Nathan secretly texting a young female colleague. The old habits were still there, unchanged. A few months later, Lauren called me one afternoon to clarify a few things. The call lasted less than 3 minutes, but it was clear to both of us the only person who had truly lost everything was Nathan. And Martha, who had suffered a stroke during the winter, was now in a long-term care facility in southern Charlotte. Nathan couldn't afford her medical bills, and her insurance had been cut off when he lost his job. That burden was now on his shoulders alone. A man without family, with no stable income, and almost no one left to care. I wasn't glad to hear it, but I no longer felt guilty. Every choice carries a price, and Nathan had made the wrong ones over and over again. One afternoon in June, Lily and I went to a local fair with Hannah. I crouched down to help Lily choose a beaded bracelet, when I felt someone's gaze. When I looked up, I saw Nathan standing across the square about 30 feet away. His hands were in his pockets, and he looked noticeably thinner than before. He didn't approach, just stood there, silent. Lily didn't notice him. She was too focused on picking out a pink kite. I didn't call her over. I just looked at Nathan, and in that brief moment, I didn't feel any hatred. It was just the long silence of something that had already ended. Nathan looked at his daughter, his face showing pain that couldn't be hidden. It wasn't the look of a man who had been wounded. It was the look of someone who knew he had lost the most precious thing he'd ever had. I didn't walk toward him, nor did I walk away immediately. I simply squeezed Hannah's hand lightly, and together we left the fair, leaving behind a man standing alone in the crowd, unnoticed by everyone else. That evening, while Lily sat at the dining table coloring, she looked up and asked, "Mom, can we go to the park tomorrow?" I gave her a soft nod. "Course, but first we're stopping by the new bakery. They have those cinnamon rolls you love." She nodded, her eyes lighting up. "Then don't forget the orange juice, okay?" I walked over, hugged her, and kissed her on the forehead. "If you wanted the whole world, I'd bring it to you. We don't need anyone else. A forced family, not late apologies. It's because together we created something true, and that's enough." Sarah Mitchell's story isn't just about overcoming betrayal. It's a reminder that women don't have to endure something already rotting beneath the surface. From a betrayed wife, she became a strong mother, protecting her daughter and rebuilding her life with her own hands. In reality, we all stumble, but what matters most is having the courage to rise, to walk away from what no longer serves us, and to choose ourselves with pride and true freedom. What do you think about Sarah Mitchell's choices and the journey she took? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful, honest stories about family life and the unexpected turns that shape us.